All right, you guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Corner of SD Sports Junkies. I'm your host, Steve-O. Today with my co-host, Justin Smead, lead host of the, or co-host of the SD Sports Junkies.
There you go.
So what we're going to talk about, you guys are always waiting to hear, what's going on with San Diego sports from Justin and Josh. However, this is the fantasy football segment of the show, so just want to...
A little fantasy roundup, man.
Right. Justin, I know you got eliminated from our league this week in fantasy. Did you pay attention to some of the stats, like who was blowing up?
I did. I saw some good things. Some quarterbacks really stood out. Cam Newton obviously did well. Who else? We had, yeah, and Phillip Rivers actually had a decent day. His yardage wasn't there, but he threw for like three TDs.
Yep.
Really got a fantasy owner that was in trouble. Pretty much bailed him out this week. There's types of guys like that. No big guys that really stood out. I mean, I wasn't paying attention too much to my leagues because I'm pretty distraught about our fantasy football league that was worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in that hibernation mode where I'm bitter and I'm sad.
Yeah, the whole Phillip Rivers thing is, if any of you guys, this last week, week 14, in most leagues was the first week of the playoffs.
Right.
If you had Phillip Rivers on your roster and you were actually starting him, you were probably playing on the consolation bracket and you weren't actually playing for anything
you're right.
that matters. Because anyone, if Phillip carried you all season, he carried you right to the dumpster.
Right. He was trash.
But just a little thing on the Chargers. Okay, they got to win.
They did.
All right.
Congrats.
Golf clap.
Yep.
Golf clap.
Yeah. No
Good
biggie.
job.
No biggie.
Not too stoked on it.
No.
I mean, whatever. We went in there. We punched Pittsburgh right in the mouth, which was bitching.
Right.
First thing, I have to say, a big sorry to Denario Alexander.
Yeah.
My gosh. Could I have played that guy down any more last week?
Man, for me, Denario Alexander's... He's been that crazy surprise of the year that, well, I guess one of those bright spots in a gloomy Charger season, because he's one of those guys we're like, okay, who is this kid? He's tall, he's lanky, he's got a little build to him, he's all right. You get out there and see him play, man, he's all over the field, he's swallowing the ball. Phillip Rivers is in tune with him. We were under the impression Meacham and Royal were going to be those guys, and Here comes this kid off the street, and he's already got 555 yards receiving this year and about 8 touchdowns.
Now, didn't Alexander play for the Rams?
He did.
And didn't he light us up for like an 80-yard TD catch like 2 years?
He did.
Last year or 2 years ago?
He did. He's one of those guys that was highly touted out of college, and he got the injury bug bad, man. He got hit hard. I think he's had 5 surgeries on his left knee or whatnot.
Yeah.
He's just really had some bad luck, but really, I mean, if he can come into his own and stay healthy for the Chargers, we found a diamond in the rough here.
I agree. For fantasy purposes, if you happen to make it through your first round of playoffs and you're let's see, who was a good wide receiver injury? I don't know if you're facing like a Dez Bryant,
Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson's out, and you're thinking, for a week 15 pickup, Denario Alexander actually is a pretty solid play from here on out. I downplayed him last week. I didn't believe, but that performance he put up against Pittsburgh on Sunday was stellar. So,
awesome, yeah.
Good for him. Also, all right, so with week 14 in the books, you guys, if I just want to. Anyone that's facing Adrian Peterson in the playoffs, I just want to say good luck.
I'm sorry.
Better luck next year.
Right.
Because
Guy's
AP, just complete beast mode.
I can't believe, Steve-O, when I look at the ticker and I'm watching my Sunday games, I look at the first half of every week, and he's already got almost 100 yards and a TD already. Right. He's on pace for a 200-yard game every Sunday.
He hasn't rushed for less than 125 yards in 4 weeks.
It's mind-blowing, and of what injury he came off of and what he's doing to the league right now is unbelievable.
Look at guys, a perfect example, look at a Rashard Mendenhall who had the same injury as AP and hasn't bounced, but it's affected him all year.
Yeah, not the same back.
Jamal Charles had the same injury as AP, however, he did it in week 2, and he had a whole season to continue that rehabilitation.
To get back,
So Charles is actually back. He's looking good. He's looking healthy. Unfortunately, he's tied to a really bad offensive line, and KC is just a mess in general.
Team, yeah.
But Adrian Peterson, man, if you're up against him, actually, if you have him on your team, you need to make some moves and make sure that you're getting some other players around him because you have a really good chance of winning your championship, win some money.
Yeah, you pretty much surround him with better players, right? And
exactly.
you make sure that with your 30 to 40 points a week from this guy or whatever you're getting, you can put the best possible players in to excel you over the top.
Okay, for example, in my league, I actually won my week.
Mm-hmm.
I do have AP, and I backed him up with Bryce Brown.
There you go.
And Ahmad Bradshaw.
There you go.
Well, this week, Bryce Brown and Ahmad Bradshaw did nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
And Bryce Brown, you were high on last week.
I was super high on. I'm still high on him.
Right.
Actually, he's gonna play. He's gonna start again this week.
Right.
Sean McCoy is only in stage 4
right.
of his concussion.
It's not a
the
bad
league
pickup.
protocol. So
Yeah.
he killed it
Solid.
for me. He actually gave me 2 really solid wins going into the playoffs. So AP again, just he's gonna win you a championship. If you have some solid guys around him, he's gonna win you a championship.
Right.
Another good not breakout performance, but just another backup week is Cam Newton. He freaking went off for over 100 yards rushing.
40-something points.
He had a 50-yard TD run.
Man.
He still put up 200 and some odd yards and 2 touchdowns in the air.
And that's exactly why I drafted him, Steve-O. And I was unfortunately bounced, but I had Cam Newton all year. Half the year. I finally cut ties with him, but these were exactly the kind of things I was looking for when I drafted Cam Newton. The running ability and the running TDs, the passing yards, the less on the picks. He threw a lot of interceptions this year. For me, I'm pretty jealous. I'm not afraid to admit it. I did wrong with myself picking him first overall, but that was the risk I was willing to take because this is the Cam that I thought I was going to get.
It's when you go quarterback first round, even realistically, no matter what type of league settings you're in, I always have a rule of thumb as far as if you're going to take a quarterback, I followed my rules all the way through. If Brady, Breeze, or Rodgers dropped to me in the first round,
right.
I had to grab one of those 3.
Yeah.
If it was anybody else, and there was guys that were a close fourth preseason, like Stafford was in that mix, but I was like, you know what, I'm not going to take that. If it's Brady, Breeze, and Rodgers only, if they fell to me, I'd take them. In all 3 leagues, one of those guys fell to me, so I took a quarterback in the first round, which a lot of guys, normal fantasy players don't like doing, but if they see the big picture of how, okay, for instance, look at what Brady did last night to the Houston Texans. Are you kidding me? That's like one of the league's top defenses, and he goes in there and just picks them apart for 4 TDs.
And it wasn't even fair.
296 yards, and he didn't break a sweat.
No, it wasn't even fair. And they had the backup quarterback in at the end of the game.
Yeah, J.J. Watt goes in there, and
he couldn't do a damn thing.
He was hitting Brady late after Brady already got the 30-yard pass off to Hernandez. That leads me to my next guy, Aaron freaking Hernandez. About time the guy blows up.
Yeah. With the Gronk out, I mean, you figure he's going to have one of these types of games, and Hernandez really had a solid game last night.
I like anybody tied to the Patriots. If you got skill players tied to the
Edelman,
Patriots in
Woodhead,
your fantasy league, dude, that's never a bad bet. Then you got teams that are actually winning in the league, but not winning in fantasy. You got anybody tied to the 49ers, for instance. There's not one skill player on the 49ers that I would want on my fantasy team. Even a guy like a Frank Gore, because there's so many options behind Frank Gore to steal some touches.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. You just don't know. And you look at the 49ers offense, too. You don't look at anybody in particular besides Frank Gore that's going to go off. Vernon Davis has been an absolute bust this year. Crabtree's been decent, not anything spectacular. There's just nobody there. You look at that team and you go, well, who the hell is a stud? Nobody's really. They just play good as a team.
Well, look who just came out last week. LaMichael James come back from injury, and wasn't he
kid out of Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Fast kid, yeah.
Michael James comes out and busts. He was doing like 8 yards a carry for he only touched the ball like 7.
He's like a
times.
Ronnie Hillman type.
He just busted out, and so that's what San Francisco Niner fans have to look forward to is a guy like a LaMichael James. So as far as fantasy goes, you guys, there's teams just to stay away from in general, dude. Anybody on the Jets, stay away from.
Arizona
everybody.
Cardinals.
Wow.
Larry Fitzgerald, I feel bad for him.
That is and you know what?
That was a top pick for a lot of people too.
Yeah, most guys drafted a Larry Fitzgerald
in
like their second or third round.
You got to feel for them.
And I mean, God forbid you get a Cam Newton in the first round, a Larry Fitzgerald in the second, and then
but then in the opposite hand, it can go the other way for you. What if you had picked up an AP because you thought he was going to be solid? Maybe you picked him up in the end of the first round, and he was there, and you're like, cool, I got AP. And then look at this. Maybe you have Peyton Manning early second or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have just really got lucky and scored huge, and it could go the opposite way.
Right. So,
nuts.
That's an example of, we're on here talking fantasy. This isn't a science, man.
No.
We're just,
Opinionated.
it's all opinions. Everybody's predictions get cracked every
Right.
week. But what we are here to do is just to say a hoorah to some of the good performances, shit on some of the guys that you shouldn't even have near your roster.
Right.
Okay, another breakout week was not breakout, but he's killing it all season. Is Brandon Marshall? Is there another? Can you name another receiver right now in Chicago? Because I think Brandon Marshall gets every single reception.
20 catches, 200 yards. Yeah,
That
Earl seems
Bennett.
about right.
They got Earl Bennett. I don't even know another guy.
No.
Alshon Jeffrey. I do know that name.
Jeffries.
But what is he? He's done nothing. So,
Nothing.
I mean, Marshall, if you were actually lucky enough to get him, I had a guy in another league that lived and died by Brandon Marshall.
Wow.
And prior to the season, I was laughing at him.
You're like, what are you doing?
He was saying Brandon Marshall is a better wideout fantasy purposes than like a Percy Harvin, and I was just laughing.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was 100% right. Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler have
had
something.
that year, yeah.
Dude, they have a connection, man. And
from
Brandon
the Denver
Marshall,
days, for sure.
Brandon Marshall's doing great. Seattle Seahawk defense.
Oh,
man.
my.
I've never seen a game like that.
I've never seen that many points by a defense in my life.
In standard scoring leads, I think they put up like 39 or 40 points.
Well, they put up in our league.
49 points.
That's ridiculous.
A defense putting up 49
That's
points.
half the points you want to be at. I mean, you really realistically want to be at that 1 to 120 range every week solidly,
Right.
and then excel that. And
Right.
But 100. I mean, that's half to 100 is nuts by your defense.
Chicago's had a couple huge games this year, their defense. But Seattle putting up a spanking. I've never seen a spanking like that, man.
58 to nothing.
58-0.
That is nuts. How do you not score at least a field goal?
You know what? I thought the Chargers were the laughing stock of the league. I'm not joking. With the just the lay down on Monday night against Denver, and they let them come back 35 unanswered points. Then to lose like we did in Cleveland. Then to give up a 4th and 29. I'll tell you what. I would rather have all three of those than to lose 58 to nothing
and hang your
to
head
Seattle.
with no pride. Yeah,
it's crazy. But however, to Arizona's credit, Seattle is one of the toughest teams at home.
Oh yeah. That place is loud. Quest Field is absolutely nuts.
That 12th
Their fans
man.
are great. It's a hard place to play, but to lay an egg like that and to completely fold and give up on your team and your city, 58 to nothing is very embarrassing.
Yeah. So on that note, we were talking about a couple guys that might have busted your league this week.
Man.
If you had a Larry Fitzgerald on your team, still starting him, he led you to a loss this week.
Right.
I guarantee you that. These roster spots are getting really crucial.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to put a guy in your starting roster. You're playing for money. At least you should be. That's why we all play this game.
Right.
A couple other guys that just really laid an egg this week, and a few of them I actually have on my team. Bryce Brown, running back with the Philadelphia Eagles. He comes off a 2-game stretch of 350 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Motoring.
Just killing it.
Right.
And he goes in there and he puts up I think the first 10 carries he was at -5 yards.
Right.
And
I
don't know where that came from.
And that's what's crazy to me. And you look at another guy you had, Fred Jackson this year. He's been kind of and for me, I had C.J. Spiller. If I was playing this week, I'd be pissed because C.J. Spiller hasn't been getting the touches he used to, and he's been by far the better back all year. And he's the breakout back that can instantly go down the field.
You're right.
And for his touches to be going down, I heard at the end of the game, the press conference, they're like, we're going to give CJ the more touches now. I mean, obviously, Fred Jackson's out the rest of the year.
Who else do they got?
I don't.
They got
Tashard
Choice.
But for me, it's like, how does CJ not get involved? And then you got a guy like Fred Taylor go down. He's not living up to the expectations. It's just one of those things, man. It's fantasy football. You never know who's going to go down. You don't know who's going to be a bust for just a week. You look at a good matchup and you're going, okay, this guy's going to have 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. Yep. He doesn't get squat for you. So it's not a perfect science. It's nothing you can just go, man, that's going to be my 20 points for the day.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
So
another bust, Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oof.
I didn't see that one coming either, actually. I mean,
what defense were they playing?
New Orleans. All right. Phone call. Welcome to the Fantasy Corner of SD Sports Junkies.
Going
this
on?
is Steve-O.
What's going on? You're on Fantasy Corner with Steve-O and Justin.
Steve-O and Justin, what's up? This is T-Money from Santee, California.
What's up, T-Money?
How you guys doing tonight?
Not too bad. What's up, T-Money?
Just wanted to vent a little bit. Fantasy football year is over, and I had to lay it all in the hands of Wes Welker,
Oof.
and he did not come through last night. He threw
oh,
up the
my
second worst
gosh.
game of his entire season, and that week 1 was his first.
T-Money, how many drops did he have in the second half last night?
Oh my! Just in a matter of his 8 minutes, I was watching. There was at least 4 or 5, man. And
Wow.
you know what? We know what kind of receiver he is. He could break for a huge gain after a catch. But looking at some of those, I mean,
Right.
it was kind of where the receiver was on his ass. He may have caught it and broke away, maybe not. But
What was your deficit
No.
going into the game last night, if I could ask you?
yeah, I was down about 29, but I had Goskowski and Walker.
Oh, okay. So
But,
you thought it was manageable. I mean,
You got a
I
P-
could see that.
Is this a PPR league,
Oh, yeah,
T-Money?
very manageable.
Is
Very
this
manageable.
is this T-Money? Is this a PPR league?
Yeah, PPR for sure. So
Okay.
Walker's money in those.
So
right?
Welker's I mean, I have Welker on my PPR
Yeah, you
league
do.
in Yahoo.
He's been good for you all
he's
year.
solid 15 to 25 points a week. So that's the
Solid.
The deficit that T-Money was down here, you guys, is definitely manageable. In that game, surprisingly, I thought Welker was prior to the game, Welker was projected like 23, 24 points, and he goes in there and actually still, for receiving purposes, he still actually had a pretty decent game.
Right.
But for fantasy purposes and what we all expect of a guy like Wes Welker,
Below standards.
he laid an egg,
Yeah.
man. He goes in there, catches
Absolutely.
three catches for 52 yards last night,
Unbelievable.
T-Money?
Yeah, something like that, around those numbers.
That
and
sucks.
It's just disheartening because it's like you can watch the game, you just look at the score, and you're in my position, you'd be like, holy shit, all those points?
Right.
Welker's got to get a piece of that pie, right?
Right.
No, you got Brandon Lloyd put up probably the best game of his entire season on that night.
Right.
Hernandez coming out and balling. Even with Gronkowski hurt, he's already been hurt in the season before, and Walker took over.
Yeah.
And,
Unbelievable.
and
It's just
yeah,
so demoralizing.
It's so demoralizing. 'cause,
Did you end up losing? Did you lose your matchup last night, T-Money?
I did. I lost the matchup. I was the
Oh.
first round of playoffs. I was the number 2 seed, lost to number 4.
Oh,
Dude.
The number 4 seed.
It's really
snuck
funny.
in there at a record
You know,
of 7.
the guy's snaking in. The guy's snaking in with the number 4 seed, who probably had a decent team, but still, obviously
He's
if
four
you're not
for a reason.
Yeah, he's number 4 for a reason, and he gets in there, and he probably gets that lucky week.
Yeah,
And I feel for you, T-Money. We've all
Yeah.
gone through it though.
Yeah. Of course. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was record of 6 and 7 and just snuck in based on points.
Oh, man.
You know?
Jeez. Well,
Whatever.
T-Money, dude, we definitely appreciate the phone call, and I'm sorry about your bad luck, man. I got bounced about week 4, so you don't have to. Yeah, you didn't have a bad as year as I did. I was a rookie to the PPR, but you know what? Better luck next year, and keep up on the show, man. We're gonna be trying to do this the rest of the season, run it out, and then we'll definitely hit it full go when next season starts.
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller, first-time listener. When are you guys on usually?
Well, this is kind of a branch off show. We have Steve-O here that's starting his fantasy football. I'm just helping him get going. We're going to provide good insight for fantasy players all around, and just trying to give our opinions and what we think is going to happen. And it's going to go on for another couple weeks here, and then we're going to start probably 3 weeks before next season kicks off, so we can get that fantasy football blood going and make sure everybody gets their full dose of fantasy football knowledge, get them in tune, and just get them up to date on PPR leagues, because that's where it's at right now.
So T-Money, definitely
for sure.
definitely stay tuned next week, bro. Be a part of the show. Tell your friends about it. Everyone, there's not one guy that plays fantasy football that doesn't like to talk fantasy
Right.
football. I'm obsessed
for
with
sure.
it. My
Yeah.
wife can't stand it. I talk it. I'll
The
stay
first thing you get to work, you talk to them.
She thinks I'm up late talking to other women on the phone, but I'm talking to a buddy in my fantasy league talking about a sneaky sleeper pickup for the week, It's getting pretty pathetic, but I love it. It's all I got left, So anyways,
Comes a part of life, man.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude. T-Money, thanks for the call, bud.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Later.
Right on. Good phone call.
That was cool.
Right
That
on.
was cool. You know what? I actually had Welker in my league last night, and he definitely laid an egg. However, I also had starting opposite him. I had Aaron Hernandez, who
he made up for
two
that.
touchdowns. Yeah, it was huge.
He made up for lack of production.
It's kind of been that's been the story in my Yahoo league all year. Is I've had some
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, you guys, the show's running out. If you guys want to call in, please do. If you have some questions.
A quick question.
What's that number again, Justin?
The phone number to the show would be 619-387-3452 if you guys want to hear about fantasy football. You got one more quick question, call in now. Like we were touching on earlier, this is a show that's just getting off the ground. We're going to be pretty much catering to all those PPR nut jobs, giving you good insight. Steve-O's here is the most knowledgeable out of the group, but I love to rap with him because I've been playing fantasy football for about 6 years now. So I do know a little bit about it, and definitely be giving him a hand with all the upcoming shows.
Cool. So before we sign off, guys, I'm just going to give you my sleeper picks again. I kind of had a bust on a couple of them last week talking about Brandon Myers, I think I mentioned. He put up a goose egg.
Oh, goose egg.
One catch for 6 yards.
Gooser.
So this week, and this is actually not a surprise, and it's not just because he blew up last week. David Wilson, New York Giants.
22.
I had my brother pick him up on his roster 2 weeks ago. The guy's a stud, okay?
Wow.
He was a stud at the beginning of the season. He had a couple fumbles, and he ended up in the doghouse for a bit. But Bradshaw has shown his age. He's shown his injuries, okay? Yep. Giants are in a position where they need to have that breakout player, and if Bradshaw's not providing it, David Wilson's going to be that guy. So was I surprised to see him put up 100 yards and 2 TDs? That was probably a little overboard. I was expecting more something like maybe 50 yards and a single TD.
Right.
He is a dynamic return man, so if you're actually playing in that league that rewards for return yards, he's a player that if he's in the waiver wire right now, he needs to be on your roster.
There you go.
Another good pickup, or not good pickup, but good start this week, he might have been on your bench. CJ Spiller.
Okay.
Fred Jackson out for the year. Spiller's
getting all the carries.
Dynamic back. He shouldn't really. He's probably gonna
see 20 touches.
Tashard Choice is gonna scalp probably 5-6 carries here and there, but CJ's gonna be in there for the majority of the game, and he's a great start this week. Once again, I'm putting Carson Palmer in my sleeper status. Okay, he's up against KC. I think he's gonna have a huge game. And actually, I think it's actually be a more competitive game than people like to think.
Right.
Also, Vic Ballard.
Ballard for the
running
Colts.
back for the Colts. He's going to put up some fat stats this week. Jason Avant, this is my deep sleeper right here.
Okay.
Nick Foles in Philadelphia has filled in very nicely and actually better than Michael Vick has. He gave him their first win in 8 games. He broke that 8-game losing streak.
And he can run.
Yeah.
He's not as quick as Vic, but he's mobile.
Right. He is mobile. He's mobile enough,
right.
And he's a very accurate passer.
Right.
I mean, that last it was a touchdown pass to Jeremy Maclin to end the game. I mean, that's clutch. That's something that our own quarterback cannot do. You guys, let's just face the facts here. So Jason Avant is looks like to be like the favorite target of Nick Foles. So if he's out there and you got some injuries and you're pushing at the semifinals of your fantasy league, go ahead and pick up one of those 5 guys and see how it works out for you. If not, tune in next week. Tell me how bad I suck. Your fantasy corner of the SD Sports Junkies. I'm Steve-O. Got Justin. Thanks for tuning in, you guys.
Thanks, guys.